Hello and welcome back to another edition of Corn-Fed Sports in the Morning. We're actually back in the morning this time, so we've made it in before noon, so this is one of our actual before the morning sessions. My name's Pat Radigan. Joining me today, we got Gage Peak. This is going to be our normal setup, like we said last week, for Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so get used to it. We're going to be recapping the weekends for you, catching you up on everything that happened. For this week, just to kind of get into the format and ease into things, we're going to break it apart into two segments. Today, we're going to be talking men's and women's basketball exclusively. Tomorrow we'll catch you up on women's gymnastics, men's gymnastics, swimming and diving team that set a school record, bowling team won a second straight tournament, all those different Olympic sports, all those fringe type sports to some people we still think they're important. So we'll have a show dedicated to those tomorrow, but today it's just going to be men's and women's basketball. So we'll just jump right into it, and we'll come up with the men's basketball team. Nebraska was edged by Ohio State by 7 points this weekend. Had the ball, 5-point deficit with the ball in their hands, and could have cut it to 3. We'll see Coach Miles reference that later in the clip. But
just those tip-ins. I think we played good, though. I was impressed. We started out a little slow, and the second half we came on. The crowd got into it. David Rivers had an excellent game, in my opinion. He came out in the second half and just he dominated. And
if David Rivers has even half the half that he does in the first half, or allows them to stay in that kind of way, and I think that even if he takes on that mentality, the last couple minutes you could see. I know we talked about him trying to get that put back and trying to slam that one home and those little things. If he has any of those intangibles in the first half, if he's able to find a way to, and it's not anything he probably did wrong. They're a big physical team. They were knocking out some shots early, so there are some things that obviously were tough for him to overcome. But I think one of the big things, though, that helped the team as a whole, at the first media timeout, Ohio State had 4 offensive rebounds already. And you can see Miles, that was the focus of the timeout. The entire rest of the game, they had 4 offensive rebounds for almost the entire 36 minutes. And at the same time, Nebraska out-rebounds Ohio State 15-8 on the offensive boards. And so I think those hustle plays towards the end of the game, they're knocking out. Nebraska knocked down some shots that they weren't hitting the rest of the game. I think you can see some of those little things, those hustle plays, those loose balls they get, turn into made baskets, turn into offensive production. So it's interesting to see how getting stops, getting defensive rebounds, and energy plays on offense kind of fueled the offense and fueled that comeback down the stretch.
It was good to see, Coach Miles, he called the team out and was saying, we need to hustle more and all that. We did that, and I was talking to people after the game about it. You saw why Ohio State's ranked 11th. Aaron Kraft, he hits a 3, a dagger. That's why they're 11th. They have that ability just to put a game away whenever they want. And just like in the first half, when we were up, and then they just went on a big run. That's, they just have a lot more talent right now than we do. But I was really impressed with how we played overall.
And we'll hear from them. We're going to come back in our second segment. We're going to do some looking out towards the rest of the year, looking out at some of the things we've learned over the past couple weeks about both these teams. So we'll have a video clip for you for more men's basketball. So we'll just get through it quickly here. We'll go to the scoreboard for our women's basketball. On a completely different note, the Nebraska women's team lit up Devaney Center. From first half, second half, they had 38 points in the first half. Just went nuts from there.
Got 80.
I thought they'd probably get 90 at a point, and then you realize that things are going to stall out a little bit. Minnesota hit a couple shots. But the production level, Nebraska finished the game with a turnover ratio of 2-1 as a team, not individual as a team. They knocked down 3-pointers. They rebounded. Every single category you can look at, second chance points, fast break points, that all those things. Nebraska just dominated.
You saw a veteran team put their will and just take over a game.
And the veterans took over the game. But the difference, and what Coach Yorey mentioned, is that that's the most complete of a 40 minutes that they've gotten from the other players, from the fringe players. And at one point in the second half, it looked like Rachel Terrio and Lindsey Moore were playing horse. But instead of, and I tweeted this yesterday, so sorry if I'm doubling up and you extra that, it looked like they were playing horse, but instead of shooting, it was like who can not look and set up a teammate for a better shot. And it was like, it wasn't just layups, it wasn't just things in transition. It was, and at one point, I think Rachel was even amiss about giving Lindsey the assist by knocking down the shot, but she's had to. Lindsey looks the other way and floats to the corner as Rachel just walks into his shot, wide open 15-foot jump shot, just simple. It's just those little things all the way throughout. Jordan Hooper, every time they switched her to a smaller screen, she would just go nuts, and she would just look for the ball in the post, want the ball in the post, and want to score immediately. And so I think that kind of aggressiveness in the paint, not just settling for shots, I think something you haven't really seen throughout the year.
Well, the difference right now between the women's basketball team and the men's basketball team, if you look at Hooper's stats, 27 points, 7 rebounds, she's hitting her shots, and we're kind of going back to men's real quick, just because I want to throw something in.
Because he always goes back to men's.
I know, I only talk about men's basketball. But, just making the shots, and that's what the women's team does just so well, is Hooper, if she's open, she's going to knock it down. And that's, we win by 24. Hooper has 27. That's a big help.
Yeah, and not just how she was knocking shots down, but when she's moving off the ball, there's even times when she's kicking it back out. And you'd see that last year that Nebraska would score on the perimeter, that Hooper would get to the basket and score.
Yeah.
But now she's being in the inside, she's where the offense runs through. She's where they'll all look for pick and rolls. They'll all look for her to post up right away. And then it's just the little parts about the team rallying around her as an inside presence. You can see how that affects the entire team.
Right.
And the other thing that we have to mention, if you were at the game, you'd know that as well, is T. Laudermill. And the effort that T put out on defense last night, and right away,
seems like we keep talking about
her first or second possession in, there's a player from Minnesota who kind of gives her an elbow, and T smiles at her and just gets right back in her face. And the rest of that game, she didn't. That player looked turned off. She didn't want the ball. She looked like she was still mad about T getting in her face a little bit there. And at one point in the second half, it was a different player, but T just takes the ball, not steals it, not knocks out of her hand, literally rips the ball out of a girl's hand, outruns two defenders, and then outjumps somebody at the rim, takes the body contact, and makes an and one.
For a team to be successful, you need your role players. T is what she brings to us. Is she's a defensive just juggernaut of a player, and she brings that. And she does her job very well, and she knows what her role is, and that's what great teams have. Their players know what they need to do game in, game out, and T's a prime example of that.
Yep. And so now we'll jump in. We'll take a quick little break here. We'll reload. And we're going to jump in and we're going to do some more analysis, look some more long-term things, end-of-the-year goals, kind of those type of things where it's crazy to think there's so little left in the season. We're already in the spring season.
Coming down,
but, 8 games for men's and not many more. So we'll be right back after the break. We'll talk more for men's and women's basketball. It's Corn-Fed Sports in the morning. All right, we're back now for our second round of today's Corn-Fed Live show. Normally we're gonna try and get we're gonna have guests, I think, starting this Wednesday. So we'll try and do some more, not just us talking the entire time, not just titles and the little things.
I love talking though. I don't know about you.
I think people have realized that I like talking as well at this point. But we need to get other people in here. We're gonna do some more fun things. So from now on, we'll try and have a second segment that's more a video, that's something we've shot before, or a guest that's in our studio, or little things like that. We have some fun videos that we're waiting, but we have another show that we're waiting to debut as well.
And we should have multiple guests throughout the weeks.
Oh yeah, the guests will start to come in as well. So you'll get one of us off the screen for a little bit. So you'll only have to deal with one of us for a while, get some athletes on here, and then have some more fun. And you'll be able to chime in. We'll be able to get questions from you guys. So we're looking forward to having that element, having some interactivity. We're also looking forward to some fun sequences. We have some players who've come in here taking our N64 challenges and some of the little things in the middle. So we'll try and pack the middle of our show with some more fun, lighthearted things, so it's not just the typical sports stuff the whole time. So we'll jump right back into it, though, with men's and women's basketball. We'll start. We're going to look at a clip for each of the teams and kind of talk about what's coming and what's left on the schedule. So we'll start with the men's basketball team. So here's a clip from Coach Miles and a couple of the players from the game the other day.
Keep at it. Keep going hard in practice. And keep our mindset where we just in attack mode, playing together and being locked in for 40 minutes.
It was very close. I think we could have got it to 3 late. If we just tip one in, who knows what can happen? Big crowd, we get another stop, and who knows what can happen. But it wasn't meant to be. But we know how close we were to maybe making a play tonight.
I mean, I don't feel it's nothing that we're not capable of. I think we can do that every night if we really lock in. And because I'm with these players every day in practice, and I see it. It's just the amount of doing it now, and just trying to get it done. No.
So there you heard it directly from those guys. One of the things that we didn't add in there, but I think I wanted to add, is that at the end they asked Coach Miles, "Is this a moral victory?" And his answer was no. This is a learning experience.
Right.
And he went off from it, but right away he was going to say that, and some of the other players mentioned that. So
that's the one thing you go into a game like that when you play, the 11th best team in the country is, you only lose by 7. Is that a moral victory? And I don't think this team accepts moral victories this year. The simple fact that they think they can go into any game and win it. They can win any game, and there is no such thing as a moral victory.
So now we're going to look out a little bit. Look out. There's 8 games left for the men's team. They got, obviously, playing in the Big Ten this year. If you have any 8-game stretch, there's going to be a lot of games that you're going to have to be the underdog. You're going to have to face some pretty improbable odds. At Indiana is a game that's one of those games. Just knocked off the #1 team this weekend. Probably not a place you're going to want to play if you're in a position like Nebraska, but like they said, they think they can go in anywhere. So, what are some of the other games that you think stand out on the remaining schedule?
First off, we play Penn State at home. If we want any chance of going to, say, the CBI or the NIT tournament, we have to win games like Penn State at home. We beat Penn State on the road for our first conference game win. We have to take that game at home. And I think another game that stands out maybe would be a Michigan State at home or a Minnesota game at home, because I feel like this team just is ready to explode. The state's ready just to explode of excitement, of an upset, crowd storming. So I feel like those 2 games at home, I'd love for us to win, those games. So we go on the road, and there's not as much. I feel like we play better on the road either way. So,
and I think without trying to make it seem overly dramatic, my view on it is that we have to view Penn State as a must-win game.
Yes.
Not must-win because the season will be lost out of must-win because there are games that you have to have that mentality with right now. There's not a lot of games you're saying this is a must-win for the NIT that you can't really be sure of any of that at this point. So to simulate that, to kind of get that intensity, you have to say, hey, these are must-wins just to give us a chance. So I'm not saying that it's a must-win. You win it, you're going to get in the NIT. You win it, you're going to make a move, or you're going to move up the Big Ten standings, maybe get to 10th or something like that. I'm not saying it's that drastic, but I think that for this team, Penn State's a must-win.
Yes.
Iowa at home is pretty close to a must-win.
Yes.
And then Iowa on the road as well
is
as close to a must-win road game as you can get for this team, because they need some of those little hurdles. They need to say, hey, we need to set our mindset that we're going to take one of these road games. Yeah. And if they're not able to get one of the upsets, sneak up on a team like Illinois or sneak up on something like that at home who's favored, Iowa's that game. And Iowa at home is going to be a big deal, because if you look at it, if they are able to beat Penn State at home, beat Iowa at home, and beat Iowa on the road,
that's 14 wins.
They still have to beat either Michigan State and Minnesota at home, or get another road win
game at
against
Wisconsin,
Indiana, or Illinois.
Yeah.
So you got to win 5 of those. So yeah, I mean, it's tough to say that they're must wins, or tough to put too much emphasis on it. But to be completely honest, that's where they stand, and I think that that's what they think that they can get those 5 wins. They think they can win all 4 at home and get a road win. They think they can win 2 on the road and win 3 at home. So there's some combo there, and I think that if you look at the Iowa games, you look at, I think, Illinois on the road, if they're not doing so well, if they're sliding down there, they're not just streaky, but mentally new situations.
Yes.
There's just a lot of things there, so that'll be another interesting game. But I think that to get back to even to say 500 and make a possible case for an NIT, that might be a lofty goal, but I think that it's within reach. So I think why not? Why not say that? Look at what their route can be. So starting with the Iowa game at home, starting with Penn State at home, Iowa on the road, you got to get 2 more.
And what we have to remember is we want to build momentum going into the end of the season, going into the Big Ten tournament. Maybe we can get a win or 2 in the Big Ten tournament. I think that would be huge for our players and their confidence. And, say we get a couple wins in the regular season and we get a win or 2 in the tournament, then, then NIT berth, possible home game in the NIT could be, in discussions. So I think if we got to finish out strong.
Definitely, and I'm going to steal the last word from him on here. You're going to hear it here first. I think Wisconsin has used up a lot of their magic this year and a lot of their magic at home, and they've stretched their bounds. So if there's one game Nebraska's going to steal, you heard it here first. I think on the road at Wisconsin in the Kohl Center.
Alrighty.
Call me crazy, but I have the feeling.
We played good there last year. So
we'll move on here. We'll talk a little women's basketball. So again, we'll start with a quick clip here. So we'll go to a clip, and then we'll come right back and we'll talk a little women's basketball.
I mean, I've kind of been saying this here lately, but I feel like we're playing closer to our potential. We played well for essentially 40 minutes. We played well on offense. We played well on defense. We rebounded the ball. We did a lot of things right. T, it's exciting. I mean, T, her defensive pressure was definitely a key in the game, and then she's getting, and then she made shots.
First and foremost, her hounding ability is outstanding, and I think we all feed off that, and so then we all kind of get more aggressive on defense and take some chances we wouldn't normally take. I think it's just the way the other teams are kind of playing. They kind of put their smaller matchups on me, so I've kind of had to learn to be more physical down low and stuff. And
I take a lot of pride. Like, for me, defense, I can care less about points. Like, defense, that's what just motivates me. Like, defense is just all what I'm about. We just pretty much came together. We just came together as a team, and since then we've been playing good. We've been playing as a team. We've been talking. It's just a spark.
We shared the ball. I mean, I think the stat 18 assists, 9 turnovers is a great stat. You wish you could do that every game. And so obviously Jordan had a big game, but we had 5 people in double figures, and I just thought our kids did even though we're playing zone, we're pressuring, and we played really hard. So it was a good, really, really good 40 minutes.
So we heard there from the team about the shift that's happened lately, that they lost that game against Illinois at home. They slipped to 2-3 in the conference. Now it's been a winning streak since, and they've moved up the conference standings. And now they sit in third behind Purdue and Penn State, tied at the top. So I think that when you look at the remaining portion of this year, I think it's interesting to reflect all the way back to that game. But after that game, Lindsey Moore said, "We can't lose another one." And at that point, I thought to myself, well, can we not lose another one as far as a game that we should win, as far as a game that we're favored in? Or does she literally mean we can't lose another one? And now you look at the remaining schedule, some of the toughest teams are teams that they've taken care of, or teams that obviously a Northwestern team that's tricky on the road that Nebraska had some issues with last year, and Coach Yori talked about how they tried to recruit some of those players. So obviously when the players that you're playing against fit well into your system, or would fit well into your system, they can defend you, they can cause some problems for you. So, but at the same time, you look at the remaining teams, and outside of Penn State at home, Nebraska should, with what they've shown, they should be in a position to take all those and to be in the driver's seat there.
Even though, and you say Penn State at home, the ladies will be ready to play that game, and I think they're gonna be hungry, and they're gonna see how high they can reach it. So I think they're gonna win.
And I think the other interesting aspect of that is to see how the Purdue Penn State game goes, because that can influence a lot. Because if Penn State loses to Purdue, then they could potentially come in here with a 1-game edge on Nebraska, to where Nebraska could win that game and tie with Penn State. But at the same time, if some other things go, different ways, if another team's able to upset Penn State, if another team's able, Purdue's got games at Wisconsin, which is where Penn State got their first conference loss of the year. Purdue's got games at home against a really physical Michigan State team, and against the swarming Illinois team in the last game of the year. And Illinois is going to be looking for NCAA to move up that in those regards. So they're gonna the Purdue's and the Penn State sitting at the top, sitting with that cushion in the league. They're going to get some pressure. So if Nebraska can take care of business, if they can keep this going. I mean, last night they looked unstoppable at times. They have 5 players in double figures, and not just that, but they're players that are starting to do that more consistently. Rachel Terrio's not just a 1 or 2 type game thing. They're getting healthy. That Tara Laudermill is destroying opponents right now. That they don't even want to be on the court around her right now. And I asked Jordan this last night, and she's kind of smiled and agreed with me instead of shedding too much light on it. But I asked if when she goes up and says, good play after they get a steal, if she's saying good player, she's like, thank you for not making me play defense. and it looked like that. There's like, wow, we can just go down and score, and Emily, Katie, and Haley Sample, and they can just go to the boards because, I said last night in the press conference when we were talking, waiting for the coach to get in there, I don't know why everybody talks about Rachel Bannon the way she does. And nothing against Rachel. She's an outstanding player. But when I see her against this team, she looks like a different player because the pressure, because of what they do. And so I think when you look at a team like Penn State with their guards, with their wing players, that Nebraska beat them on the road last year when they were playing that energy, when they were playing the opening weekend of conference. And I think that if Nebraska can get that energy, that not only can they be a force that not many of the other teams can deal with, but they can go into the tournament with momentum. They can make a run, not just as playing 4 days and 4 days and risking injuries and winning the NCAA tournament, but playing as a higher seed who can expect to maybe win the tournament and then make an NCAA run. So it's going to be interesting. I think that you're going to see a similar run at the Big Ten tournament, but the big test is going to be NCAAs. And I promise you this, Lindsey Moore is not going to end her college career in the same way that they ended last year's NCAA tournament run.
We were actually talking about that.
So I think that you're going to see that mentality. That Coach Miles is the one who said it yesterday, that you're going to blink and it's 8 games and it's 5 games and it's gone. Said on Saturday, sorry. But I think that you're feeling the same way that they asked T yesterday. And also I have to mention this too. T used the phrase going ham in a press conference, and it was the best part of my day. So thank you, T, for saying going ham and confusing everybody in the room, but probably me. But they said yesterday that they had a team meeting, and they said, who did all talking? And she smiled and said, the seniors. And that nothing else needed to be asked. Everybody knew exactly what she meant by that. So I think you're going to see that urgency. You're going to see those things that you see Lindsey and Coach Yori interacting at an extremely high.
They have a system.
They have a system. They're not just interacting the way they have. That they're taking on more of a level. They want to be honed in on everything. That they want to get that 2-for-1 before half. They want to get all those things. They want to do everything as best they can mentally to give themselves the best shot. And I think with a team like this, with a setup like this, and a scorer like Jordan Hooper, I think Nebraska can really make some waves and not just make a move at the tournament like last year, but come in expected to do so and follow through.
Granted, it's all about your matchup. Last year we faced a Kansas team. They got us. This year, I feel like this team, they have the experience of last year, how they felt. This year, they're not. I mean, they're not.
And I'm going to say this again. I went big on the predictions with the Wisconsin for the men, so I'm going to steal the last word on you again. So, the last word. But last year, Nebraska faced a potential matchup with a Delaware in the NCAA tournament. And I think if Nebraska gets a team like that again, a higher seed, that I really like Nebraska. That those teams, those kind of athletic mid-range teams, that even the Penn States and Purdue's in the Big Ten tournament, Nebraska matched up well against those. But I think that if they're higher seed in the NCAA tournament, and I'm going to say it now, and I'm not looking forward to it. I know it's a game-by-game thing, but I think that if you see that if Nebraska's able to play like they've been playing recently and bring that momentum into the tournament, that they can use a run like this to upset one of those teams, to make a Sweet 16 run, to do some of those kind of things. So I think if the Huskers can play like they showed yesterday, and that's why I'm saying it, is because they showed it yesterday. Coach Roy said it was, the first 40 minutes that they think that they did that. They did all the little things well.
We can't start out 0-16 or 0-14 like we've done before in a going down the stretch in the Big Ten tournament or in an NCAA tournament. We gotta leave that behind in the middle part of the season.
Definitely.
Now we gotta finish.
Definitely. Well, that wraps up our men's and women's basketball breakdown here. Like I said, join us tomorrow. We'll be talking Olympic sports. We'll be talking, all the nitty-gritty sports in Nebraska athletics I will be. Gage won't be here, but I'll be here tomorrow, so I'll be breaking down those little things. So join us tomorrow. We'll talk some record-setting performances and some other, national.
Huge bowling victory.
Huge bowling victory and some national waves and some of the other Olympic sports here in Nebraska. So for Corn-Fed Sports in the Morning, thanks for joining us. I'm Pat Radigan.
I'm Gage Peak. You guys have a good one.